So let me start off with the question that is on everyone's minds. In the public mind, 2012 has become associated with some kind of apocalypse. But in your work, you show that that concept never existed in Mayan culture.
It's one of the great ironies of the 2012 discussion that within the Maya tradition itself, 2012 is a true artifact of the Maya calendar. Within the Maya tradition, it doesn't have anything to do with apocalypse. For the Maya, it's more about transformation and renewal.
Now, you've spent a lot of time in Latin America studying Mayan culture, Mayan astronomy, Mayan cosmology. What have you been able to piece together from your studies with respect to how the Maya themselves understood 2012?
Well, the conquest was devastating on many levels.
The conquistadors conquering.
Exactly, yeah. 500 years ago, there was a major break in the continuity of the surface of the tradition. But see, the interesting thing is that the essential teachings have been preserved. That's what happened in Maya history. Now there are some things that have been lost. There are elements of the calendar tradition that have been lost, and some have survived. For example, the 260-day calendar is still followed in the highlands of Guatemala. And you can go to some of the remote Maya villages today and find day keepers counting the days and doing ceremonies and rituals. The 2012 calendar, the long count, fell into disuse almost 1,000 years ago. It stopped being carved in stone. So it's been the work of researchers to reconstruct the lost aspects of the Maya calendar tradition, and 2012 is one of those things.
Mm-hmm. And from what you've been able to reconstruct as a scholar of Mayan tradition, how did the Maya themselves understand 2012? And I realize that this involves a lot of detective work.
Well, on a very simple level, the Maya subscribe to a cyclic time philosophy. So they have small cycles and bigger cycles and very big cycles. 2012 is the end of a very big cycle. But the Maya still do ceremonies, and they have a specific understanding of what cycle endings entail. And according to their beliefs, cycle endings are always about transformation and renewal.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is very obvious to see even today when Maya priests are doing rituals at the end of a cycle. It's all about making an offering, making a sacrifice, transforming what was part of the old cycle into what can be meaningful and to be used in the new cycle.
For many years, you've written about the occurrence of a galactic alignment on the winter solstice of 2012. Tell us exactly what that galactic alignment is.
The galactic alignment is a real astronomical phenomenon. It's caused by the slow wobble of the Earth on its axis. This causes the precession of the equinoxes, is what the phenomenon is called. The galactic alignment is the alignment of the December solstice sun with the bright band of the Milky Way, what astronomers call the galactic equator. So it's a real astronomical occurrence. It happens only once every 26,000 years, and it's happening in the years around 2012. The Maya, clearly 2,000 years ago, and this is according to my reconstruction work, they were able to project forward to when this alignment would be happening. It's an impressive achievement,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't require telescopes. It was basically on par with what the ancient Greek astronomers could have done. And so the astounding thing about this entire galactic alignment situation is that the astronomical features that are involved in this galactic alignment, the sun, the Milky Way, and this very curious feature that lies along the Milky Way called the dark rift. The dark rift in the Milky Way. The Maya conceived of the dark rift as the road to the underworld, the Xibalba Bay. They also saw it as a birthplace in the sky, and it can be perceived by naked eye observation alone.
Mm-hmm.
These astronomical features are front and center in the core Maya institutions, like the ball game, the creation myth, king-making rites.
Mm-hmm.
So really, in a nutshell, it's quite clear that the Maya were intending their 2012 cycle ending date to target this rare galactic alignment.
Now, one often hears 2012 spoken of as the end of the Mayan calendar. But what you're saying is it's not the end of the calendar, it's the conclusion of a cycle. Is that
That's
correct?
right, and it's funny that our language has allowed this misconception to sort of creep into the discussion because we just, we'll use terminology like at the end of the day, we go home and we eat dinner or something like that. So we have this linguistic vagueness, but we don't assume that the world is going to end or time is going to end at the, quote, end of the day. So often when we refer to the Maya calendar, it's quite common to just simply say the end date of the Maya calendar. But the fact is that this is a cyclic time philosophy. And the 13 Baktun cycle, that's this 5,000-year period that ends in 2012, it's just the end of a cycle, and then a new 13 Baktun cycle would begin.
Mm-hmm. And you've mentioned earlier in our talk that it's the end of a cycle, and traditionally the Maya understood the end of a cycle as a time of renewal, a kind of a shift. Tell us a little more about how we can understand that.
I really advocate that we can have a really profound understanding of what 2012 is about by studying the Maya tradition. And what they believed is that cycle endings, and this you can find this by studying the various related traditions such as the Maya creation mythology, that cycle endings are about transformation and renewal. And the degree to which a transformation and renewal can be successful depends on this key principle. It's a key principle idea of spiritual teachings everywhere: sacrifice. A successful transformation and renewal is best facilitated by sacrifice. Now, we shouldn't have too many, misconceptions around this. Sacrifice is kind of a hot button idea. We have these images, of course, with the Maya. The media loves all these images of hearts being torn out and this kind of thing. But as a spiritual principle, sacrifice is recognized in all of the world's great religious traditions as a key to opening up to a greater spiritual vision.
Were there periods where the Maya appeared to practice human sacrifice?
There were periods when that happened. Any great civilization will express the full spectrum of human potential, from barbaric practices like human sacrifice to great exalted accomplishments in art and science. I think that anything that is born in the world goes through a cycle. And at the end of the cycle, corruption creeps in. This is actually the Maya insight for 2012, what we might call the Maya prophecy for 2012. We find it depicted in the creation mythology, and it's illustrated with these various culture-specific deities, but we really, really need to pierce beyond the surface layer and do a kind of a Joseph Campbell thing. Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, he would look to the archetypal level of a teaching and identify the universal teachings going on. So the Maya insight is that at the end of a cycle, corruptions have crept in. And basically then there's a need to renew and restore the original conditions.